everyone. It's Colleen Meyer, and I have Lafaya Mitchell. Lafaya is a licensed marriage and family therapist. You guys, she's amazing, absolutely amazing. And tonight we're going to talk to her about how do you talk to your teenagers. And this is live, so if you have any questions for Lafaya, put them in the comments and we can address them. If you like the content, please share with someone that you know that might be interested in how to communicate with a teenage daughter or son. Okay. Hi, Lafaya. Good evening.
Hello, you get to catch me with no makeup on because I surely
And not only that, but you've been going at it all day today too, haven't you? Working hard.
it's been crazy. Like it's been a
Yeah.
long, crazy day.
Helping a lot of people, helping a lot of people. I was thinking today when we were going to have our talk about some of the struggles that parents have. And so I want to talk to you about what is a good way for parents to talk to teenagers? Because, I know with parents, there's a certain age where, you can hug and kiss them and then they get to that point where don't do that. It's embarrassing. Don't talk to me. They shut you out. So what is a good way for parents to, when they get into that transition where they kind of want to shut you out, what's a good way to handle that and talk to teenagers?
Okay, so this can be, I mean, this is an interesting question. It's full of a lot of different contingencies. It's like
Mm-hmm.
okay, so if you have a very say responsible kid, right,
Mm-hmm.
and their grades are representative of their level of functioning, right, and they're not and they're not getting into a lot of trouble that you can see and all of that, then it's interesting because sometimes I say to parents of those children, maybe give them a little bit of room. It's time for individuation. They're growing. They're trying to become their own person. The reason that you become as a parent the target of their get away from me is because they are truly trying to establish themselves as their own
Mm-hmm.
separate, you know, fully functional entity. And as parents, we kind of get in the way of that because think about it. We started out as an extension of them in their little baby minds when they were born, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when babies are born, they don't even know they're separate from us, right? And then they grow up, and as they grow more and more, of course, they grow further and further away from our reach, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
have to allow some of those natural things that happen without feeling offended by it or hurt by it, or personalizing it, thinking that well, what did I do wrong as a parent, right? You just go into the space of, okay, you know what, they're at that age where they really are trying to assert their independence. And then there's the other side of it where sometimes parents are checking in with their kids because those kids aren't maybe representing their true capacity when it comes to doing things. So we have a an A student type intellect getting C's, or a B or C student type intellect getting B's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Right.
failing. And so then that's a different situation where it does become important to find those ways, even if they're like, get away from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
To find those ways to get in to talk to them. Some of those ways can include things like with a kid who's not doing what they need to do, right? It can include, hey, you know what? Quite honestly, I know you're at that age where you're starting to, you validate, right? I know you're at
Mm-hmm.
that age where you need to individuate, right? I know that,
Right.
right? However, right now there are a few things going on with you that aren't representative of your level. And when I see that, then that's going to call on my attention. That's going to make me see or feel like you need my assistance. And since you're still, not out of my care, you're still under my responsibility, I have to check in and make sure that you're okay. If you want me to check in on you less, then if you want to kind of take care of your business a little better. Right?
That's interesting because I think that's what happens. The child's growing up and they want to kind of separate from that. But I think that, that's what, as parents, that can be hurtful or that can feel weird to them, or, they can look into it more like internally, saying, what did I do? Why don't they want to relate with me? When it's really could be them trying to do their own independence, like you said. And I like what you said, Lafay. You didn't say you're under my roof. You said you're under my responsibility. And I think that that was amazing, because it doesn't have that where the kid's going to push back like, no, I can't wait to get out from under your roof, kind of an.
Right. 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 Because that's the last thing. And we don't want to make those kind of comments, because
Mhm,
oftentimes it's not that we want the kid to leave from underneath our roof. And sometimes they're taking it that way. They're
mhm.
like, well, then I'll just leave it. Or and some kids will call you on it. Well, can I go stay with, if they're staying with mom, well, can I stay with dad? Or,
I did that. Can I stay
right.
with
So
grandma?
exactly. So they'll do those kind of things. So you don't want to give them those outs that keep them from being, actually living up to what they usually truly want to live up to. So here's the thing. Now this is where, and I think because Colleen, you know me well now.
Yeah.
I'm always going into the four core because they're relevant to every situation.
Mhm,
If you step to it, right? Step
mhm,
to it, and you understand the real truth, then you understand that first and foremost, this kid, okay, what could really be going on with this kid? Okay, individuation, right? They're not functioning at their level. What's the truth of the matter? The truth of the matter is no person truly wants to perform beneath their level of capacity, right? Usually there's some version of shame, some version of upset or frustration with self when you're not performing at your level, right? People can say, "Oh, well, I don't care." Right. But then in the next moment, they're crying about those D's and F's, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to, or they're stressed out
mhm,
because I'm not going to be able to catch up. Right. I haven't done any of my work for this past 2.5 months, and there's like 2 weeks left. And I'm stressed out because I have so much to do. Right. Or I'm going to get
mhm,
F's. Right. So understanding the real truth means that there are two pieces that are usually happening when the kids are pushing you away when they're not doing what they need to do. One is self sabotage. Self sabotage happens when a person is not as confident in themselves. If they're presenting as confident, they're not as confident as they like to tell themselves.
mhm,
So generally, there are thoughts behind that's very, very self, just shameful thoughts about self, or self, they hate self, those kind of self-loathing
mhm,
thoughts that accompany that maybe they don't share with you, or sometimes you do get a chance to hear it, right? Because unhappy kids will share sometimes what's really going on with them. Maybe not all the time, but they'll share. They'll talk about themselves. They'll talk about how they're stupid. They'll talk about how they're all these things.
mm. That hurts my heart to hear you say that, because I think especially when you got the older kids getting into teens, tweens, and into teens, they're not going to share. They're not going to come right out a lot of times and say, I'm hurting, but they make little comments, and parents have to pick that up. And I think sometimes the kids will say, "Well, what's wrong with nothing? Are you sure?" Yeah, I'm sure nothing's wrong, but there is. So if a parent fails there at that point, Lafaya, with a teenager, how would you, what advice would you give them to get past that? Oh, nothing's wrong, but you can tell something's wrong.
Oh, it's so funny because somebody just asked me this last night, so that's awesome. No, and I love to share it again because it's so important for people to hear. When they're saying there's nothing wrong, when you can see that there's something clearly wrong, or you can feel that there's
Mm-hmm.
something clearly wrong, and you're the parent or grandparent or whatever, then you say to them, "Oh, well, babe, you might want to tell your mood that." Because it seems like you're not ever coming out of your room, and when you do, you seem like you're snapping at everybody. That's not your personality. You haven't been just walking around in life just snapping at everybody. So,
Mm-hmm.
clearly, if you don't want me to address it as if there's a problem, then my suggestion would be maybe be a little bit more mindful of the cranky that keeps coming up, right? Or, those kind of things. Or it gets, because it is, and sometimes I'm not upset. I'm like, you might want to tell that attitude that, because I don't think your attitude's in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because and it's helpful, it's just bringing light, and the more light that you can bring, and the more that you can say to them, basically, it's this is how you get what it is that you want. Because most times they say I'm fine, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, because they want you out of their faces, but they don't understand that the real truth is that if they don't appear fine and they keep saying they're fine, then the parent's going to keep coming after them, so they're going to get the exact thing they don't want if they keep appearing not to be fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you
That's
teach
right.
them, this is how you problem solve. You don't want me in your face? this is how you get me out of your face. I'd be happy to be out of your face. Right. This is how you teach them, though, and not in a condescending way, just more in a, oh, you don't want me talking to you all the time either. Oh my, I am so in agreement with that. But however, when you do this, or this, it makes me concerned. And as a parent that is not trying to be a bad parent or neglectful parent, I'm going to address it. So maybe you might want to try coming out of your room a little bit more so that I don't worry as much. Maybe you want to try maybe coming out and having dinner because it doesn't seem like you're eating. And, that's what moms do. We worry when our kids don't eat, right?
That's
Kind of
exactly
thing.
right.
So you give them what to do.
And let's talk a little bit about, I had this fear when my kids were growing up, and then I have this fear now because I have grandchildren. And it's the conversation of keeping them off of illegal substances. You're having that conversation. What can you say? I mean, you can't put a bubble around a person, for um, but is there a way that you can have a conversation with them that at least helps them kind of go, understand that it's not a good thing, understanding it's addicting, understanding that it can ruin your life, your health, you can die. But then they get the peer pressure on the other side and it's cool or whatever they're told. What does that conversation look like for a parent?
So it's a little different now to have that conversation than it was before when there was less access to
Mm,
lots of information. They're learning all kinds of stuff. They're exposed to all kinds of things through the internet anyway. So if they haven't experienced it, they've seen it at least, right? And
mm-hmm,
kids younger and younger are exposed to things that don't, that we wouldn't even have to worry about until they were like 16, 17, right?
mm-hmm,
And so the way that you address that is to make sure first and foremost that you do address it, because some parents, grandparents will stay away from the issue because they don't want to be maybe insulting to their kids or grandkids or make them think that they feel like they're accusing them of something. But it's very important. Just ask a question. Start out with a question. Say, you know what? I know you have so much access to stuff. This might even feel like a dumb question to you, but how much do you seriously know about what drugs do to the body and mind? Like,
mm-hmm,
can you just tell me just a little bit about what you know? Oh, I know, I'm not stupid, right? Kind of thing, right?
mm-hmm,
And so, but it's like, no, okay, no, definitely, I definitely don't feel like you're anywhere near stupid. But you know what? Sometimes we think we might know a little bit more than what we do, and we get caught up in certain situations and not know what to do, right? So I just want to make sure that you're equipped with what it is that you need to be able to know how to find your paths of escape in certain situations, right? To know what to say so that you're not feeling so embarrassed, right? That you might try something that you don't really want to try, right? Can you tell me what would you do if a friend, if you were at a party where everybody's, smoking weed or whatever, and somebody just, is passing along to everybody, so they pass it to you, what would you do? Right? What would you say? Right? I know what to say. Okay, well, just humor me because I
mm-hmm.
want to make sure you're safe. And plus, I might have a few suggestions in there that might be something you haven't thought of.
Hmm. I think that's important. And I see, you watch TV or you read things about the drug a problem that we have in this country. And, how many people are, young people and, older people too dying. And it's scary as a parent or a grandparent that they have such access to it and they know so much more about stuff. 10-year-olds know stuff like you were saying that we didn't know until we're 15, 16 years old. 8-year-olds, we were, high school students and they're learning this early.
Yeah. I had one kid tell me, and it was just the saddest thing. He said, I've been anxious and worried about things since he said, at around 7, I stopped being happy in life. I was
Oh
like,
my God.
dang,
7 years
7.
old, he
I
was
was like, that
stop
is
being happy.
right. I was like, you know what? I said that is it's such a sad thing because they have too much access. Like there are people out there that they would want to call the parents who kind of keep their kids from being spending too much time on the internet and all that. They're just too protective and all that kind of stuff. But there's something to it. Our kids are far too early exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to. And even our channels that we felt were safe channels before, they were supposed to be our kid channels, are no longer treated like kid channels. It is insane how much, how much stuff that you can find in these things that are supposed to be rated G and for kids. There's crazy stuff in there. I'm like, oh my god, baby shouldn't see this.
There's like, it's like they'll say something that has double meanings, and the kids the kids might not get it, but the adults are laughing. And it's like in a kids show on our, kids cartoons, some of the kids cartoons, and it's like, oh my god, that's the stuff that they're showing to these kids. And let's talk. You had said something about parents and they're protective parents. There might be something to that. Let's talk about privacy, because I have my own opinion on privacy. I felt that when my oldest daughter was living at home, she was a little handful, but I felt that, okay, well, there's a limit to your privacy. And so tell me, what if a parent came to you and said, what is too much in their stuff? What is not enough? What does that look like?
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my original conversation about level of responsibility. You will get what you earn. And I feel like parents, this is something that parents need to teach more and more. You get what you earn. Not so much, it's my roof, I own this house, I own everything you have in it and all that kind of stuff. Because all you're going to do is promote anger, and your child's going to go out there and try to find their own job. And so they're going to be like, oh, well, you didn't buy any of my stuff. They're going to take their birthday money and say, well, you didn't buy any of this. This was with my birthday money, right? But it's under my roof, so I own it all. Don't take that attitude. You never win. It's a battle you don't want to fight.
Right.
But what you do want to do is you want to match, and you want to help them to be responsible for the level of trust that they get, for the level of privacy that they get, because privacy has to do with trust. If you are proving yourself to be untrustworthy, then you're going to have less privacy, just as it works in the real world, by the way. If you are in violation enough, then your full privacy will be taken away by other people with the official right to do so, right? And so when you're home, we cannot teach, if we teach our children that you have all rights to all privacy, no matter how you behave, we are misteaching them. Okay, because that's not the way they're going to be treated out there in the world, first and foremost. So you want to teach your kids, hey, I don't mind being in full respect of your privacy. However, I need for certain things not to just pop up as a problem. Like, you come up missing, I don't know where you are. Like me getting, me hearing conversations that seem like they might be sketch, or too many of those, or but, and so it's like, just, or you having a very strange choice of associates who are constantly in trouble and all of that. That's going to cause me to be concerned, so I'm going to want to see a little bit more about what they're exposing you to. So then it becomes more about, if you would like for me to be more out of your business, or I'm sorry, or your grades are very poor, but I physically can see you attending school every day, yet your grades are not anywhere near what your level of capacity is. So that's going to make me wonder, well, where are they actually in school?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Or if you get caught ditching, right? Then, of course, that's going to promote, now there's going to be less trust on my part. And yes, I will be checking in to see what kind of messages you're giving and getting, right now. So yeah, those kind of things. Make it about their level of earning that trust.
I like that. And there's another one I think is scary, is how strangers have access to our children through the internet. And I always tell my granddaughter, I said, you don't know unless you know this person from school or church or wherever it is that you're, might know them from. If you don't know this person, you don't know if that 8-year-old that's on there talking to you, don't know it's not a 40-year-old somewhere.
Right.
Or some kind of predator, and you see all these stories about that on TV, and on the news, and some parents have the computer in a family room, or they put controls on it, but it's hard to stop all of it, I think, because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
on Facebook, they're on this, they're on that, TikTok.
Right. So all you can do, and it is scary out there. Okay.
Mm,
So I would say, but you have to allow certain levels of trust. But remember, that doesn't come with just staying out of it completely either. What you do is you make sure that they're being taught, even if they're irritated about you teaching them. Because oftentimes the things that we try to teach, especially our teenagers or kids who are getting
mm-hmm.
older,
All right.
to them, they're oftentimes going to feel like it's condescending. They're like, I already know that. Like, I can figure that part out, right? But what they don't know is it works very differently when you're in the situation, when you're under that pressure, under that spotlight, then, or you're in that moment that you didn't really
Mm,
expect to be in. Sometimes you might freeze. Sometimes you might, right? The things that you thought you would do, because you've never really spoken to it, you just only, maybe fleetingly thought about it. Sometimes people don't even think about it. Like, if we don't bring it up, they're not thinking about that stuff. They're not thinking, what would I do if a stranger, if it was a stranger talk? I mean, what would I do if I met up with someone and they were a stranger? They don't think, those kind of things. We have to present those things because they're just going about living life. We don't think about what if, especially what ifs out in the internet world. They don't think that way. And so, as a parent, you want to bring those things up. You want to ask the questions, not drill them, but ask them the question. Say, "What would you do if?" And the kid's like, "I know what to do." And you say, "You know what? Just humor me,
yeah.
because it's not like it's a normal, typical situation of yours, right?" Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you just make sure you're educating as much as possible and give them what they earn. Like I said.
When we were kids, it was the don't talk to strangers, don't take candy from strangers, don't walk alone. And, if you're at night, and these are the things that we were told as kids, but now the strangers can come into your home through electronics. It can be scary if parents don't, watch that.
Right, right. And then you ask your kids, you talk to your kids about certain things. You can say to them, "Hey, how do you know that the kids are the age that they say they are, that you're interacting with? Like, how do you know?" "Oh, because they show their picture, or they this." "Okay, well, have you ever, done, at least before, especially before you go meet with someone, hey, how about you
Mm.
make sure that you're at least doing a live with them first, so that you
Oh,
guys
I
are
like that.
looking at each other face to face first, right?" And then if you ever are newly meeting someone, especially someone from the internet, always go with a friend. So then you're
Mm.
telling them, you're empowering them with the tools, instead of telling them, don't, because don't talk to strangers. It wasn't the best method, right? So, don't go meet up with people you meet on the internet, because they really do form really close friendships sometimes with people on the internet, right? Don't
Right.
go meet with people, and don't do this and don't do that. As opposed to that, if you're going to do that, okay, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
if you can't tell me about it, then you already know there's something wrong with it. That's one. Okay. If it's something that you can't do with a friend, you may want to question that as well, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
you can't, if there's some reason that's always coming up that they can't get face to face with you live to talk with you, you hear their voice, you see their faces, then there's something wrong with that. And teach.
Mm. Okay, that's really good information, Lafaya. Thank you so much. Well, we've been on for almost 24 minutes, and I know
Wow.
I know went by really fast. But I want
Did.
to say, before we sign off, I want you to just share a little bit, like, what is the most common thing, question a parent brings to you, if there's a common one, or what is your the most common advice that you give a parent about a tween or a teen?
The most common things, oh man, that's hard, because people
There's
come with a
probably a
lot of
lot of
things.
it.
I mean, there's a lot, man. I think that the subject that you brought up today, though, was really great, because that is what parents ask me
I
often,
think so too.
is
Mm,
how do I get through to them? Like, how do I get them
mm,
to listen to what it is that I'm saying to them? And the most common advice that I love to give is, make sure that you're a person who they can talk to first and foremost. So make
mhm,
sure that you're validating their experiences. You're not dismissing just because they're a teenager, just because they're, they don't have the experience and they're making, dumb decisions and all that kind of stuff. Don't dismiss how they feel about things. Actually make sure that you call that into play and say, okay, look, I understand that you want this. I understand that you desire this. So always validate their stance, right? And then the second part is be mindful of what's going on with you when you're addressing them. So if you're frustrated, if you're irritated, if you're feeling disappointed, if you're feeling all these myriad of negative ways, okay, or if you're feeling ashamed of them, anything like that, right? You're not going to have as much breakthrough. You shouldn't expect to have as much breakthrough. Guilt does not have as much power as people seem to think it has, because they try so hard to use it so often, even though it doesn't work. None of that works. So the most common advice for me is, first of all, learn the Lafaya way 4 steps. If you learn
I love
those
them.
4 steps, I'm going to tell you right now, you won't have a difficult time with interacting with another person in very influential ways where they will hear you. They will hear you because you can hear them, because now you're breaking through all of your own noise and their noise, and you're getting to both of your truths, which is for on your part, especially as a parent, I want the best for you. Like, I want the best for you always. And for them, it's, I want what's best for me too, right? So you guys are in alignment, right, with those goals. I want what's best for me, and for the parent, I want what's best for you. So then you start to share with them how they get more of what they want, right? So if you learn how to stop personalizing all their little attitude and making it about you instead of about their struggles,
I love
then
that.
all of a sudden you have breakthrough, right? When you're not offended because they won't do something that you told them to do or take your advice, when you're not offended to all in, like you have the perfect answer to everything anyway, because sometimes we don't, right? If you're not offended by that, and you can just see it as, okay, I can understand why you want to do it your way, right? I want to do it my way when I was younger too, right? Instead of, when I was younger, I never went against my parents. They're always, most time it's not telling the truth. I always did what my parents said, and I never gave any lip back. Come on, man. I had some of the toughest parents out there. I might not say anything in front of them, but I was surely doing a whole lot behind their backs because they weren't approachable, right? So it's important to come in with your real truth, which in living and responding according to that truth.
Yes.
That's how you have the best breakthrough. If you can get the message out in every interaction, I love you so much and I want for life to be so comfortable and good for you, then all of a sudden you will have kids that are listening to you and I mean, totally immersed in what it is you're saying to them.
Yeah, I just put your website on there. For it's on the screen, but they can also have it in the comments, because you mentioned your Lafaya way. You have you have your strategies. I used them with my granddaughter. Had great results with her, during the COVID and getting her to go to online school. And so people want to get a hold of you. There's your website, and you have another free event coming up on June 20.
So you're gonna have me lying. It's the 4th Saturday in June.
The 4th Saturday. I got the date. I got the date. It is
24th?
The 26th.
Oh, 26th. Okay.
Yes. And the 26th of June at 9:00, you have your parents empowering parents talk. And it's 9:00. It's no cost to parents at all. They can go on your website, go to events, drop down to parents empowering parents, and they can sign up right on your website. Or if they want to get a hold of you or something else, they can get in there and get a hold of you.
Yeah, go to the contact us page and you can reach me that way. Email me, text me, whatever you call, whatever you prefer. I love to answer questions live. I love to help parents. I love to find the right program and resources for you to get your needs met with your kids.
Okay, Lafaya, well, thank you so much for talking to us today about how to talk to your teenagers. And it was a lot of great information, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.